I wish I would have known what lawyers actually do. See, I was under the impression, like most people, that lawyers, their job is to win your case. Their job is to fight as hard as they can for you and to make sure that your story gets told and that your voice gets heard and that the voice and needs and desires of your children are heard. But that is not what they do. See, I paid thousands of dollars to lawyers during my case. And what they did with the majority of the time is look at case law. The majority of the hours that I paid when I was paying $200, $250, $300 per hour, the majority of those hours were spent researching case law. See, I am an administrator and I had been pro se a lot of my case. So I knew the kinds of paperwork and information and evidence that could be used in court. So I literally had an entire suitcase full of paperwork. I kept every phone call transcript. I kept everything. And I had mountains of evidence that could have been presented, that could have been used to tell my story. But none of it was used. None of it. The lawyers didn't care. What they cared about is if I can find a case that is similar to your case and present that to the judge, then he might be willing to go in our favor. And that's what they spent most of their time doing. The next thing that they spent their time doing was looking at correspondence from the opposing counsel. See, what happens is in a custody case, the other side, they create mountains of paperwork. And the law says that your attorney has to review every single piece of paper. Now, when you're dealing with a huge firm, that may be one thing where they can delegate, hundreds of paralegals going through it. But 95% of attorneys don't have paralegals. They go through it themselves. So their time is spent combing through useless documents that aren't helping your case. Oh no, they're helping the other side. So you're paying thousands of dollars for your attorney to review documents that don't help you. The last thing I wish I knew, I cannot tell you how many times I asked them, do they care? Do they believe me? Do they believe my child? And the responses are very cold. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether they believe in the case. They actually believe that. That is a lie. But it's really just a mask because they don't want to tell the truth. They don't care. They're looking to get paid. And as long as they get paid, they'll continue to work. If you're a single mom and you're struggling and you're saying, hey, I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to pay you as much as I can. I'm working on it. Can we set up a payment plan? They don't want to hear that. So what they'll do is they may be willing to set up a payment plan, but they're going to stop working on your case. They're going to stop looking at the emails. They're going to do the bare minimum. And when you get ready to go to court, they're not going to have anything prepared. Now, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, like I'm bashing all attorneys, like they're terrible people. They're not, but they have been trained to operate in a system that's demonic. So to them, it's just their job. They don't see it as, being insensitive. They don't see it as not having character or integrity. They don't see it as kind of just being douchebags. They don't see it like that. They see it as I'm doing my job, and the best I do my job, the better you'll win. But the reality of it is that's not the case. They're fighting in a corrupt system, and the only chance they have of winning is your prayers. So pray. I know that's not the popular opinion, and that's not what most people are going to tell you. They're going to give you all of this legalese, and they're going to tell you you need an attorney. They're going to tell you you need this paperwork, all those things, but they're all lies. Just do a quick Google search on parents that have actually been through this system, and they're going to tell you none of that stuff matters. So you can continue to do your research, and you can continue to do what they tell you to do. I'm not saying don't do any of that stuff. Faith without works is dead. You have to do something, but I would not put my faith in that system. I wouldn't put my faith in the lawyers. I would put my faith in God. I am Amanda Nicole, and I am the CEO of Freedom Through Divorce. And so I create personal development courses and ebooks and all kinds of things that are geared towards women of God who have been through divorce, who are considering divorce, and who want to move towards freedom and finding their purpose in God. So what is Freedom Through Divorce? Well, Freedom Through Divorce is actually an online school full of personal development courses for women of God who have been through divorce or who are considering divorce. Anyone who has had to deal with divorce understands that it is extremely difficult. There are so many balls that you have to juggle. Will the children be okay? Is this something that God is going to be okay with? How does it affect my relationship with God? How am I going to learn how to be independent as a new single person or a new single mom? There's so many things you have to consider. And as a Christian, there are just so few resources out there to help you understand how to navigate those things. So this is a school that really goes from considering divorce and understanding God's views on divorce, when it's acceptable, when it's not acceptable, and understanding that there are so many more cases where God sees divorce as acceptable than what is normally taught out there. And it does it in a way that is not condescending, that's not judgmental, that is just giving you the information from God's heart. And most importantly, is from someone that's been through what you're going through. It's not just theology. It's not just, I read this or I heard this, but it's someone that's actually walked through it. So the personal development courses are meant to help you move and experience freedom through divorce, because there's so many people who they get a divorce, but they don't thrive afterwards. They stay stuck. They stay bitter. They stay telling anyone that'll listen how terrible their ex is. And that's not God's plan for you. God wants you to be able to move towards the purpose and plan that he has for your life and to thrive so that the chapter of your life post-divorce is better. That's what the word says. It says your latter days shall be greater than the former days. So that's what freedom through divorce is all about. It's personal development courses that you can take the information from a biblical perspective and experiencing God's freedom, his prosperity, his love, his joy, his peace, all of the fruits of the Spirit and the blessings that he sent his son to die for you to be able to have. Just because you've had to go through a divorce does not mean that you are negated from the promises that God has for you. So that's what freedom through divorce is. If you're interested in learning more, visit our school today.